Welcome to the Sacred Window podcast. Here, we look closely at the intersections of the postpartum window, the Ayurvedic perspective on health and healing, and the universal mother principles that are the keys to giving and receiving effective care. Hello, I'm Devlin Eck. I'll be taking you through interviews with professionals who are making a profound difference in the lives of their clients, conversations with individuals brave enough to share their stories of vulnerability as a way to lift up others, and my own journey through birth, parenting, caregiving, and building a conscious business. We are here to honor the sacred windows, the profound transitions in life that give it all meaning. Welcome to the conversation.
And I will never be the same again.
Hello, welcome to the Sacred Window podcast. Today I'm going to be putting myself into the beginner's mind. Ayurveda is something that sounds, for people who have never heard of it, it can sound like this thing that's other, this thing that is not belonging to me. It's, comes from a different place. It's, part of a different tradition, and therefore is separate. And what this episode is really here to help us understand is that Ayurveda presents us with a view of the human experience. It is the longest continually practiced medical science in the world. It is, from what we know now, is India. It is 5,000 to 10,000 years old. Its origin comes from rishis, or sacred, people who were living so close to the land and so close to the elements and so integrated with nature, and through sort of subtle understanding, we can call it probably different things, and different teachers will call it different things, but they were able to listen to the call of nature, to God, to spiritual beings who were able to pass knowledge to them. And this is how they understood the wisdom in plants, how they understood how things healed and caused imbalances. And over time, this oral tradition and this practice of creating wellness, creating healthy bodies and healthy lives, was eventually started to be written down. And so the oldest texts of Ayurvedic medicine that we have started around 5,000 years ago. So this is an incredible body of work that it is such an honor and a privilege to be able to learn from. Ayurveda as a science, the word Ayurveda means life knowledge, and this is something that really would take a person lifetimes to kind of dedicate themselves to studying. However, I find that it is sometimes these things that seem so vastly complicated, the essence of them is just so natural and automatic and already known. We already hold this wisdom inside of us. It's almost more of a remembering it. So the reason I want to speak on this today is because I want folks who have a desire to live a vital, empowered life, to feel healthy in their bodies, to feel like they know themselves and have autonomy over their health and those that they care for. I want everyone to realize that we are all living Ayurveda. And in fact, we often say this, that we are our best Ayurvedic teacher because we are living this life. We are living with nature. We are living with all of the qualities and the aspects of the human condition that is described in this science. And so therefore, this way of looking at health and at living is so incredibly relevant to every single human, no matter what culture we come from. It's such a gift. And what is so potent about it to me when I was studying Ayurveda, when I first began studying Ayurveda, because this is something we're always continuing to learn about as we live life, is that so much of our Western model is complemented by understanding Ayurveda. So we have this ability to look at this ancient system of medicine, which is focused on number one, the individual. So, what is balancing for me may not be balancing for you in the same way, recognizing that each of us is slightly different. And number two, the focus is on creating health first so that imbalance or dis-ease doesn't occur, versus a Western model that waits for something to go wrong and then looks at how to patch that up, rather than creating the healthy foundation so that those things don't happen. So, as folks who are passionate about this ancient system of Ayurvedic medicine, we can see how collaborating the two gives us this incredible opportunity to set ourselves up for a healthy and radiant life and longevity, and, really just finding that vibrant, healthy space that, of course, we all want to be in. Now, in the postpartum window, what is so beautiful about the Ayurvedic tradition is that there is a wealth of understanding and knowledge and guidance on how to heal the body after birth. And this body of knowledge is not talked about in our modern system. So, as we build these resources for postpartum caregivers, for doulas, for families, for anybody, it is an effort to help bring back this universal knowledge that is missing from the modern narrative and medical science, that will help give these new families, these birthing people, new moms, the ability to move through that healing window and know how to support themselves to create a full healing experience after birth. It is something that I spoke about with a student today, is that sort of what we understand as traditional postpartum care is really not traditional. The traditional postpartum care is focused on healing the person who gave birth, not on the baby and on the home, which is what we kind of in general assume that a postpartum doula does in these modern days. How are you sharing your gifts and passion for caregiving with others? In a world where education and awareness around the postpartum window is lacking or missing from our modern systems, we have a profound opportunity to shift that paradigm. You may be a few simple offerings away from making a truly impactful difference in the lives of mothers and families in your community. We are here to support your journey in the ways that work best for you. Schedule a conscious care strategy session to meet one-on-one with me, and let's identify the right next step for you to begin a path of conscious care for new families that fits your life and your needs. Visit www.sacredwindowstudies.com/strategy-session to schedule a time that works best for you. That's www.sacredwindowstudies.com/strategy-session. What we are training people to do is to put our attention on the person who's just given birth and healing the very specific ways that their body has gone through the birthing process, the ways that their body is depleted, the way that their subtle body is depleted, and using food, using herbal support measures, using routines, using these qualities, these basic things that can be applied by grandmas, by friends, by the individual, by partners, and of course, by postpartum care providers that are trained in this work, by aligning all these really safe foundational aspects of living in a human body, we can create complete full healing to where imbalances that are so common in our culture, postpartum mood disorders, depletion in general, digestive disturbances, interruptions in milk supply, lots of common things, colic in babies. These are very avoidable experiences. And so I am so drawn to helping people understand that there is so much we can do. And that's where the science of Ayurveda comes in. It's not this other, it is all of us. We are all living Ayurveda. We are all living life science. And so we deserve to see the full autonomous picture and understand it. And so that's why this episode is being recorded, to really look at 5 steps to helping to look at things in a more Ayurvedic way. So let's start. So step 1, noticing, and I already said this, but I'll say it again, that you are your best teacher. So start to really look at the things that go on in your body on a regular basis. Start to notice your digestion. Start to notice what might give you gas, what foods might make you feel too full, what foods do you really crave, what foods might impact how you're able to eliminate. Start paying attention to how often you eliminate. What is the quality of your elimination? And by that, I mean your poop and your pee. Like, what is going on with how you are operating in your body? So often, and I am absolutely part of this, is that I would go through life before learning about Ayurveda and honestly just not pay attention. So I couldn't tell you about how many days my menstrual cycle was. I couldn't tell you, when the last time I started it. I couldn't tell you when, how often I went to the bathroom. I couldn't tell you connections between certain foods and how I might feel afterwards because I wasn't paying close enough attention. And so the first step of really beginning to live this Ayurvedic informed, or this more whole informed life, this empowered experience in our body, is to just start to notice. Just start to notice. Maybe start to take a little journal of, noting your cycles. How long are they? What's the quality? Noting things. If this is, if that feels like too much work, then just simply notice. But that's step 1, is really getting to know yourself again. Not each of us experiences life and foods and cycles and moods in the same way. So really becoming super intimate friends with yourself and noticing what your body is doing. That's step 1. Step 2, Ayurveda is so much about seeing nature reflected in our human experience. So step 2 is learn about the 5 elements and how they combine to form the 3 doshas. So this might require, getting a library book out and just doing a little reading on what the doshas are, a little internet search, whatever. But when we're talking about the 5 elements, we're speaking about ether, which is space, air, fire, water, and earth. And everything in the universe is made up of combinations of these elements. What do you think about these elements? How do you notice them show up in your body? How do you notice them show up around you? Is there certain type of environments you feel most drawn to? Again, we're continuing that self-exploration and that knowing, but we're just kind of focusing on these 5 elements. Now, the 3 doshas are simply combinations of these elements. So every single person has a different combination of the 3 doshas. Kapha being earth and fire, Pitta being fire and water, and Vata being air and ether. So as you start to learn about yourself, you're going to begin to just dabble and play. This doesn't have to be any kind of stressful process. We are just using ourselves to learn about life. And how kind of amazing is that? And what I notice is that requires us to get a little slower and get a little more intentional. So, step 3 kind of goes along with this. Go online and look up body type quiz. And I did this just before recording this, and immediately, like 5 or 6 different choices came up. Eventually, we'll have our own. But for now, find a body type quiz. Sometimes they're called the dosha quiz, and just take one. It's fun. It reminds me of like, filling out the quizzes in like magazines when I was a kid. So just go take the body type quiz. It's easy. It will give you some insight into drawing connections between, oh, so these are some of my physical characteristics, and this is how this might show up in terms of the dominant elements that I have in my body. Each of us are born with a different constitution that has the perfect ratio of these elements for us. And this is sort of the GPS for knowing how to keep ourselves moving towards a balanced state. When we understand which elements are more likely to push us out of balance, for example, if someone has a really fiery constitution, they have high Pitta dosha. So if this person goes on vacation to a really, really hot place and starts to eat really, really spicy foods and, does all kinds of activities that involve heat, they are more likely to get overheated quicker. Maybe their moods will start to get really sharp. Maybe they'll start to have indigestion and some diarrhea. Maybe they will have a little skin outbreak or just feel overheated. So somebody who doesn't have that constitution, who maybe has a much, cooler, more Kapha style constitution, they can go to that same hot place and eat those foods and feel very different in their body than that first person will. We all respond to different qualities a little bit different, and knowing which of those qualities resides within us helps guide us in making the right choices, not only in food, but in our lifestyles to support it. Okay, so once you've taken your body type quiz, you can just start to take that information and notice and play. And sometimes it's helpful to just start to observe others in your life. What are your guesses to what their constitution is based on what you're learning about how to spot the different elements in one another and in yourself? Step 4, start to pay attention to qualities. Once you know which elements are dominant in your constitution, start to read and explore the qualities. In Ayurveda, we call these qualities gunas, and there's 10 pairs of opposite qualities. For example, hot and cold, hard and soft, subtle and gross. There's 10 pairs, so I won't go over all of them, but these qualities for me have become the central thing that helps guide me in how I apply Ayurvedic support in my doula practice and in the ways that I understand any type of care providing for my family and for myself. I'm looking for which qualities are elevated to a point that they need to be balanced. So I can use those opposite qualities and bring them in, as I said before, in any number of ways. Is somebody feeling really unsettled and light? Are they feeling anxious? And do they need to be brought down to a calmer space? I can use that observation and say, oh, there's too much movement, there's too much lightness. Vata is elevated, air and space are elevated, and we want to create some groundedness. So I immediately know how to do that. So much of Ayurveda was just like, oh, yeah, of course. Aha, yeah, of course. It was so many, of course, moments because this is all wisdom that we carry in ourselves already. It's just a remembering it, it's just an acknowledging it, and it's changing the habits of relying on outside sources to tell us what we feel and what we know and what's going on with us. It creates the confidence and the ability to look first within and get a sense of how we know ourselves to be in this moment. And then, of course, we can use support from others outside of us, from providers, from medical support people, alternative medicine, whatever our choices are. We're first beginning with this informed space, and then others can come in and help us as we need. So reading and learning and experiencing and playing with the qualities. This is like all the little, road signs and directions that help us realize where we're going in the right direction or where we're going in a further imbalanced direction. This is really key, and it's so beautifully simple and basic. So step 5, just play. Just play and just be intentional. Take time, get quiet, start to notice. And this kind of wraps it all up because I talked about this at the beginning. This process is the opportunity to create balance and a centered internal space that is more peaceful, that is more confident, that is more informed. Just the process of slowing down to notice what's going on with these qualities, what's going on with the elements. The whole process is in itself medicinal. So I deeply hope that this simplified get started guide for how to integrate some of the principles of Ayurveda into our daily life that is natural, that's easy, but honestly is also the absolute foundation for anyone who practices Ayurveda, whether you've been studying for 20 years or 20 minutes. Everyone is going to start with looking at these qualities and observing themselves. So as we move into whichever aspect of care we might be offering, whether it's as a professional, whether it's with our family, whether it's with ourselves, this is applicable. So those of us who are beginning it, knowing that as we move further into the study of Ayurveda, it becomes something that we stop thinking about so much and it just becomes natural. But for now, to get started, just get a little curious. And at any point, if you would like to reach out and connect with us about how to further your studies in this area, specifically towards women's health and postpartum, you know where to find us. Thank you for listening.
Shanti, Shanti.
The Center for Sacred Window Studies has been training postpartum care providers, professionals who work with new families, and individuals passionate about postpartum care since 2018. We regularly host live free events alongside our online and in-person training and certification programs. Hop on our newsletter list to get direct access to all of our events and community support gatherings. Our mission is not only in training conscious postpartum care providers, but in fostering a robust, informed, and thriving community of postpartum professionals. Once you step inside, you're family forever. Visit www.sacredwindowstudies.com to add your email to our newsletter list. You can support our work by subscribing to the Sacred Window podcast and sharing with someone you know who would love it. Thanks for being here and participating in the culture-wide shift that recognizes the need for and the importance of conscious postpartum care.